Hello and welcome to Icon's Biography, the channel where legendary lives, unforgettable journeys, and timeless stories come to life.
History often celebrates loud visionaries, those who command stages, dominate headlines, and speak in bold declarations about the future. But behind many of the world's greatest transformations stand quieter minds, individuals driven not by fame, but by curiosity. Sergey Brin is one of those minds. He did not set out to become a billionaire. He did not dream of power or global influence. Instead, he asked questions, deep mathematical questions about information, structure, and truth. And in asking those questions, he helped build one of the most powerful tools humanity has ever known, Google. This is not just the story of a tech company. This is the story of immigration, freedom, curiosity, friendship, and intellectual courage. This is the story of Sergey Brin. Sergey Mikhailovich Brin was born on August 21, 1973, in Moscow, Soviet Union. The world he entered was not free. At the time, the Soviet Union was a rigid system, controlled, monitored, and deeply suspicious of independent thinking. The state decided where people worked, what they studied, and what opportunities they could pursue. For many, especially minorities, life paths were limited before they even began. Sergey was born into a Jewish family, and that single fact would shape the earliest years of his life. Anti-Semitism was deeply ingrained in Soviet institutions. Jewish families often faced barriers to education, employment, and advancement. Even the most talented students were denied opportunities simply because of their identity. Sergey's father, Mikhail Brin, was a gifted mathematician and economist. Despite his brilliance, he faced repeated discrimination. His mother, Eugenia Brin, worked as a researcher at NASA after immigrating, but in the Soviet Union, her opportunities were limited as well. The Brin family understood something important early on. Talent alone was not enough in a system that punished difference. When Sergey was just 6 years old, his parents made a life-altering decision. They would leave everything behind. In 1979, the Brin family immigrated to the United States seeking freedom, safety, and opportunity. The journey was not easy. They left friends, relatives, familiarity, and security behind, without knowing what awaited them. They arrived in Maryland, carrying little more than hope and education. For young Sergey, America felt like another planet. Suddenly, people could speak freely. Books were abundant, ideas were encouraged, questions were welcomed, and most importantly, intelligence was not something to hide. It was something to develop. His father began teaching mathematics at the University of Maryland, and from an early age, Sergey was surrounded by numbers, logic, and problem-solving. But this was not a forced upbringing. Sergey wasn't pushed. He was invited into curiosity. Sergey Brin was not a typical child. He was deeply analytical, endlessly curious, and unusually independent in his thinking. While other kids played games, Sergey wanted to understand how systems worked. Why do numbers behave the way they do? How can information be structured? What makes something efficient or inefficient? His parents noticed something important. Sergey did not memorize, he explored. At school, he sometimes clashed with rigid teaching styles. He disliked authority that demanded obedience without explanation. If a rule existed, he wanted to understand why. This trait would define his life. He once said that growing up in the United States after seeing how restricted life was in the Soviet Union gave him a deep appreciation for freedom of thought. I have a huge appreciation for freedom, including freedom of expression. That appreciation would later become embedded in Google's culture. Sergey's intelligence was undeniable. He skipped grades and advanced rapidly through school. Mathematics, computer science, and physics felt natural to him. They were not just subjects, they were languages. In 1990, at just 16 years old, Sergey enrolled at the University of Maryland. There, he studied computer science and mathematics, graduating with honors. His professors quickly realized they were dealing with an exceptional mind. But Sergey was not obsessed with grades. He was obsessed with ideas. He questioned assumptions. He explored unconventional approaches. He enjoyed debating theories and breaking problems apart until they revealed something deeper. This mindset would soon collide with another mind just as intense. In 1995, Sergey Brin was accepted into Stanford University's PhD program in computer science. On his first days at Stanford, he was assigned to show a new student around campus. That student was Larry Page. Their first meeting was not friendly. In fact, they argued. They debated ideas aggressively. They challenged each other constantly. Their personalities were different, but their minds operated at similar frequencies. Larry was deeply interested in the structure of the World Wide Web. Sergey was fascinated by data mining and large-scale systems. They didn't try to impress each other. They tried to outthink each other. And that intellectual tension created something powerful. In the mid-1990s, the internet was growing rapidly, but it was chaotic. Search engines existed, but they were primitive. They ranked results mostly by keyword frequency. If a page repeated a word enough times, it appeared more important, even if it wasn't useful. Sergey and Larry saw a fundamental flaw. The web wasn't just a collection of pages. It was a network of relationships. Links mattered. A page linked by many other important pages should be considered more important. This idea led to the creation of PageRank, an algorithm that evaluated web pages based on the quality and quantity of links pointing to them. Larry focused on the theoretical structure. Sergey focused on implementation, data analysis, and scalability. Together, they built something revolutionary. Their project began as a research experiment called Backrub, running on Stanford servers. It consumed massive amounts of computing power. It analyzed links constantly. It produced search results that were shockingly accurate compared to anything else available. People noticed. Students began using it daily. Word spread. The system kept improving. Eventually, they needed a name. They chose Google, derived from Google, a mathematical term meaning 10-100, a number with 1 followed by 100 zeros. It symbolized their mission, to organize an almost infinite amount of information. Incredibly, Sergey and Larry did not initially want to run a company. They wanted to finish their PhDs. They attempted to license Google's technology to existing search companies. They offered it for as little as $1 million. No one wanted it. Executives failed to see its potential. This rejection turned out to be one of the greatest mistakes in tech history. With no buyers, Sergey and Larry faced a choice: shut it down or build it themselves. They chose to build. In 1998, Google officially became a company. They set up operations in a garage owned by Susan Wojcicki, who would later become YouTube's CEO. Money was scarce. But then, a pivotal moment arrived. Andy Bechtolsheim, co-founder of Sun Microsystems, saw a demo of Google and immediately understood its power. He wrote a check for $100,000, made out to a company that technically didn't exist yet. That check forced Google into reality. Sergey Brin, the quiet mathematician, was now a co-founder of a startup that would change the world. From the beginning, Sergey played a crucial role in shaping Google's culture. He believed workplaces should encourage creativity, openness, and experimentation. He rejected rigid hierarchies. He valued data over opinions. Google offices became famous for their unconventional environment, free food, open spaces, and playful design. But this wasn't about perks. It was about psychology. Sergey believed that when people feel free, they think better. He also pushed Google to take bold risks. Projects like Google Maps, Gmail, Android, and Google X, now X, the Moonshot Factory, reflected his belief that technology should aim for big breakthroughs, not small improvements. As Google grew, so did Sergey's wealth. He became one of the youngest billionaires in the world. But wealth did not change him in expected ways. He dressed simply. He avoided unnecessary publicity. He focused on ideas rather than luxury. For Sergey, money was a tool, not a goal. He once said that having money gives you the freedom to work on meaningful problems. That philosophy guided his next chapter. In 2015, Google restructured itself under a new parent company called Alphabet Inc. Larry Page became CEO of Alphabet. Sergey Brin became president. This move allowed Google to focus on its core products, while Alphabet explored ambitious projects like self-driving cars, life sciences, AI, and advanced robotics. Sergey became deeply involved in experimental initiatives, especially those involving artificial intelligence and health technology. He believed technology could dramatically extend human potential. Unlike many tech leaders, Sergey Brin has remained intensely private. He married Anne Wojcicki, co-founder of 23andMe, and they had 2 children before later divorcing. He has spoken openly about the challenges of balancing ambition with personal life, but rarely in detail. This privacy is intentional. Sergey believes some parts of life should remain unoptimized. In 2019, Sergey stepped down from his executive role at Alphabet, along with Larry Page. They did not leave the company. They simply stepped out of the spotlight. Sergey continues to be involved in advanced research, long-term projects, and strategic thinking. He prefers influence over authority. Sergey Brin's legacy is not just Google. It is the idea that information should be accessible. It is the belief that curiosity can change the world. It is proof that quiet thinkers can have the loudest impact. From a child escaping oppression to a scientist reshaping human knowledge, Sergey Brin's story is a reminder. The future is often built by those who ask better questions, not those who seek louder answers. Today, billions of people use Google every day without thinking about it. But behind that simplicity lies a complex vision, one shaped by freedom, mathematics, and relentless curiosity. Sergey Brin did not chase greatness. He chased understanding, and in doing so, he helped organize the world.